This is Steve with Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and today I'm going to show you how to diagnose the starting circuit and replace your starter motor on this Yamaha dirt bike. Periodically, riders will run into electric start issues, and with today's bikes being manufactured with start buttons and getting rid of those kickstart levers, you'll probably want to know a bit more about this. I mean, everybody's seen two guys, two bikes, a few drinks trying to pull start each other. It doesn't ever pan out well. So today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to test your electric start components along with replacing your electric start motor on this 2017 YZ250FX. Now these procedures I show you, you can use on almost any YZ and WR models. To do this job, you'll need some basic hand tools, a multimeter and a test light, and a copy of your OEM service manual for more information, proper procedures, and specs. Now if you're replacing your starter, you'll obviously need one. We are using the OEM one from Yamaha. So first we need to remove whatever's necessary to get to our electrical components. Like on this bike, we'll need to do the seat, the shrouds, the airbox cover, etc. And it may vary from bike to bike, but we just want to get to our electrical components to test them. Now that we have everything removed, a quick note I want to throw in there is anytime you have a problem with any electrical component or any electrical issue for that matter, you always want to check your fuses first. So with that said, let's talk about symptoms. The first symptom I want to talk about is if you push the start button and you get absolutely nothing. I mean nothing. In that circumstance, you'd go straight to the battery and check for power. Now to test your battery accurately, there's two methods that you need to do. You can take your multimeter and test both your positive and negative. You want 12.5 volts or better. Now the other test you need to do with your battery is a load test. You may have higher than 12.5 volts, but it may not have enough electricity to push whatever component you're trying to do. So a load test imitates that. Most people don't have that tool, so if there's a facility or you know somebody that offers that service, you could go have them test it for you. Now if your battery does not pass one or the other test, you'll probably need to replace it. If it does pass both of the tests, then the next thing we need to do is test the start button. Now to do this, we need to follow the wires from the start button down to the first connector. We'll go ahead and unplug that and grab our multimeter, put it on the ohms setting. So grab both of your test leads and put one on each wire. Now what you're looking for is an open or a closed circuit. Now you can see here that we have an open circuit, and then when we press the button, we close the circuit. This is telling us that the start button is in good shape. If you were to press the start button and the circuit would maintain being open, that would tell us that the switch is bad and we need to replace it. Now on a side note, with any electrical component, if you have a connector that you've unplugged, just take a little dielectric grease and put a little in there. That's going to go a long way. They come with a seal inside of there already, but they don't always do the greatest job. So using a little dielectric grease will help keep that water and grime out and protect that connector from having an issue down the road. Now that we've checked the fuses, the battery, and the start button, we need to check the relay. So we'll go ahead and remove the cover off the relay. If you're not sure where the relay is, it's generally close to the battery. Just follow the positive lead off the battery and it will go right to the start relay. On this one, it has a cover. We need to unplug it, remove the cover. Now, it's got some fuses on it. Most of the time, start relays have fuses on them, just so be aware of that. So now grab your test light, and we want to attach the ground side to chassis ground on the bike. And what we want to find out is if the solenoid has power. So follow the lead off of the positive side of the battery right to your start solenoid, and we need to test for power there. So go ahead and do that. If you don't have power there, then your lead that goes from your battery to your solenoid is bad and you'll need to replace that. And if that fixes the problem and you get your click back, great. If you do have power there, chances are the solenoid itself is bad and you'll probably need to replace that. Now let's talk about symptom 2. If you push the button and you do hear a click, then we can just start right at the relay, and obviously it has power because we're hearing a click. So what we want to do is take your test light, attach it to ground, and then test the other side of the start relay. If you hit the button and it's obviously going to click and you do get power to it, then we know that the start relay is working correctly. Now what we want to do is we want to take our test lead and we want to test the lead that goes from the start solenoid down to the starter. So we want to ground our test light and go to the starter and test there. Now down here at the starter, I've removed the lead off of the starter so that you guys can see it better as I test it. You can test it while it's still attached to the starter. So just take your test light and touch the lead obviously you shouldn't have power to it unless you push the button. So we push the button and we hear the click and we have power to it. Now if you don't have power here, that would indicate that the lead is bad and you would need to replace it. If you do have power here, then that would indicate that the starter was bad, but we need to remove the starter to verify that it is actually bad. Now to remove the starter, you need to start with the power lead. Now we've already removed that. We just need to remove one more bolt and then we can slide the starter out. Now in some models, you might have to remove a couple of things to get access to your starter, so just be aware of that. So an easy way to test your starter, just take your jumper cables, take your negative lead and clamp it to your positive lead just so that they don't spark when you hook up your battery. Then we'll just go ahead and hook it up to your battery. Obviously red on positive and black on negative. Okay, now let's take our negative and we will clamp it to ground, or the base of the starter. Now you just want to touch the positive lead on this and hold it tight. It'll want to spin on you. Well, that just tells us that the starter is bad. So we're going to go ahead and replace it. I'm going to show you this test on a new one so that you can see what it's supposed to look like. Now if the starter was good, chances are that something internally is locked up and you'll need to investigate that further. As a side note, you need to know your bike's starting procedure. These bikes will come with neutral switches or clutch switches, so you need to do that so that you're not imitating a problem that isn't really there. So let's get this brand new starter installed and go from there. First, grab a little grease and we'll put it on the O-ring. Now let's torque the starter mount bolt to 8.7 foot-pounds. And now let's install the cable back on. Now make sure you get the rubber boot over top of it so that it protects it. Now let's test it. Sweet. Well, that's all there is to it. I hope these tips and tricks help you with your starting issues. If you need more parts, apparel, and accessories, come check us out at RockyMountainATVMC.com. And if you like what you see here, subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Steve. We'll catch you next time.